Storytime about why my mom kicked me out when I was 16. So a little background information. This had all started as soon as my dad left my mom and I. I was like 13 around the time. Well, ever since then, my mom would have different guys in and out of the house all the time. Like, we were lucky if a month went by and she was still with the same dude. Which, I mean, I kind of get it because my dad did leave us for a woman that he had started another family with. But at the same time, it was just a whole mess. Anyway, so she had got with this new guy, and we're gonna call him Tyler. And by the way, the dudes that she would date, they would literally live at our house. Anyway, so a week after he moved in, I started getting really close to him, which usually never happens. Usually I would try to keep my distance because I knew how wrong it was of her having all these different guys in the house when I'm only 16. Anyways, every time that my mom would go to work, he would invite me to go see a movie, and he would just be really flirty with me. And he was only 6 years older than me, and my mom was 32. You do the math. Anyways, like for part 2. Part 2 about why my mom kicked me out when I was 16. So like I said, the guy was being super flirty with me, inviting me to the movies when my mom wasn't home and all that stuff. Well, then it led to more than just that. By the way, this guy did not have a job, so he was home with me 24/7. And I was doing online school. So we were in the house by ourselves, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. Anyways, like I said, it led to more, and we started doing the nasty and stuff. Ew, just, yeah. Well, the one day after we got done doing the nasty in my mom's room, we had fell asleep. And yes, we did not have clothes on. Well, at 2 in the morning, I hear someone pounding on the bedroom door, and my mom worked night shifts. So we get up, he hurries up and gets dressed and tells me to hide under the bed. And he opens the door, and it's my mom's sister. My sister literally lived in the apartment next door. And she was like, oh yeah, neither of you were answering the phone, so she wanted me to check on you guys. Like, where's Elena? And I'm still under the bed naked, like for part 3. Part 3 about why my mom kicked me out when I was 16. So like I said, I'm laying under the bed, no clothes on. She asks where I am. And he's like, oh, she should be in her room. So he goes looking for me everywhere with her. And he's like, oh, well, maybe she's outside on the patio. And I don't know why the hell my mom's sister had a key to our apartment anyways. But she's still looking for me in the apartment, and she looks under the fucking bed. And at first she's like, oh my god, what did he do to you? And I'm trying to tell her nothing, like I made that decision on my own. So she calls my mom right away. My mom comes home. She's screaming at me, and she kicks me out. So I go to my grandma's house, and I told my grandma what happened. And my grandma calls her, and she's like, it's not her fault that you gave her daddy issues. And I'm like, bruh, what the fuck? Child, anyways. So then she goes on Facebook and starts posting about how I'm a whore and a slut and how, like, it isn't her boyfriend's fault at all. So now I live...
Story time on how I caught my dad cheating on my mom with her twin sister, and I didn't even realize it. Okay, so boom. My mom and my dad had been together for 14 years up until this point. And my mom was actually pregnant with my soon-to-be little sister. My mom and my dad almost never argued. They had a pretty solid relationship, or so I thought. And my mom was very close to her twin sister for obvious reasons. I mean, they're twins. Well, one day when my parents was at work, I decided to skip school with my friends and go to the movie theaters instead. But I needed some money. So I was planning on going home to get money out of my mom's purse since she never noticed when I took anything. I assumed the house was empty because I was usually the first one home, then my mom, then my dad. Remember that because that's important for later on in the story. Y'all, I ran into the house and I went straight for my parents' room. I mean, I was loud. I didn't hear any moaning, y'all. Guess he was doing a bad job. But anyways, I opened that door and there it was. Like for part 2. Part 2 on how I caught my dad cheating on my mom with her twin sister, and I didn't even realize it. So like I said, I opened the door into the room and there it was. My dad and my mom's sister literally staring at me in shock. I closed that door so fast and ran to my room, I didn't even give him a chance to react. Y'all, I didn't even realize that wasn't my mom. Don't worry though, because I eventually did. Stick with me. But yeah, I was panicking on how I was going to explain why I skipped school and that I just walked in on them. I was waiting for them to come talk to me, but they never did. About 4 hours later, my real mom came home and screamed that she got food for us. Now remember what I said. I'm usually the first home, then my mom, then my dad. So my mom only bought food for me and her, assuming that her husband wasn't gonna be home till later. So anyways, I went downstairs and told my mom sorry about earlier. She was confused and said what happened earlier. And this is when it got real, y'all. Like for part 3. Part 3 on how I caught my dad cheating on my mom with her twin sister, and I didn't even realize it. So like I said, I told my mom I'm sorry about what happened earlier, and she said, what happened earlier? Y'all, my stupid ass. I really thought that was my mom's way of trying to act like nothing ever happened. So I just laughed. But then I said, where's dad's food? Then my mom said, you know he doesn't come home from work till later, so the food will spoil by then. Y'all, at that very moment, it hit me. I realized that when I opened the door for that split second, I didn't see my mom have a pregnant belly. So out of nowhere, I made that, oh my gosh, I just realized something noise. You know that noise. It goes like this. So my mom's still confused, asking, what's wrong? I said, Mom, were you here earlier? She said, of course not, honey. I was at work the whole day. I screamed, oh my gosh, Mom, Dad is cheating on you with Lily. My mom immediately stopped eating. Like for part 4. Part 4 on how I caught my dad cheating on my mom with her twin sister, and I didn't even realize it. So like I said, I screamed, oh my gosh, Mom, Dad is cheating on you with Lily. Then my mom immediately stopped eating. My mom looked at me so serious and said, what are you talking about? Then I explained everything to her. The anger my mom had is just something I can't explain. Let me remind you that my mom is pregnant and she's finding out that her husband is cheating on her with her twin sister while pregnant, and she's finding out by her daughter. My dad was a dead man. Once he came home, his life fell apart. He cried and begged my mom not to leave him, but nope, she divorced him and took him for everything he got, might I add. My mom couldn't even look at her sister, so their relationship was never the same. And it doesn't help that my mom slept with her boyfriend a year later. My mom is pet at tea. I still get to see my dad, but I always have that scene in the back of my head. But hey, I never got in trouble for ditching school, so it all worked out. Story time on how on Valentine's Day, I found out my fiance was cheating on me with my best friend and that I was actually the side fiance. Y'all ever heard of a side fiance? Yeah, me either. Okay, so boom. Me and my fiance were high school sweethearts and been together since the 11th grade. We'll call my fiance Snake. We met through my best friend, and let's call her Chloe. They were actually best friends before I met either of them. I met Chloe in high school, and one day when we were hanging out, she invited Snake. Me and Snake immediately clicked and started dating a couple months after that and been together since. Chloe was super supportive of our relationship, but they still hung out without me. At first, I had a problem with it, but they convinced me to trust them and that they were best friends before me. So I did. So after we started dating, he proposed to me 2 years later. Chloe was happy and supportive, and she was going to be my maid of honor. Well, that was a big mistake. Now that we're up to speed, let's get into it. Like for part 2. Part 2 on how I found out on Valentine's Day my fiance cheated on me with my best friend and that I was actually the side fiance. So like I said, now that we're up to speed with the background information, let's fast forward to when now me and Snake are engaged and set to tie the knot on May 2nd. We're in the month of February, and we all know Valentine's Day is on February. This may sound weird, but he actually would get Valentine's gifts for me and my best friend. And I thought nothing was wrong with it. I honestly don't know how I didn't see all these signs, but anyways, this particular Valentine's Day, my fiance was going to be out of town, so I made plans with Chloe. But in actuality, Chloe was just setting me up. She told me she rented out a hotel and that we could just Netflix and chill, drink wine, eat food, and just celebrate love. I got all cute and told Chloe that I was on my way. She told me she left the door cracked open and to just come in. I forgot to say my fiance's name is Snake and best friend is Chloe. Anyways, you wouldn't believe what I walked into. My heart broke. Like for part 3. Part 3 on how on Valentine's Day I found out my fiance was cheating on me with my best friend and that I was actually the side fiance. Anyone ever heard of a side fiance? Yeah, me either. So anyways, like I said, my best friend Chloe told me to just walk into the hotel room. So I did. And of course, I started hearing moaning. I seen rose petals leading up to the bed. And when I looked up, I see my fiance literally pounding my best friend with her legs wide open. My jaws dropped. My fiance jumped. I screamed. And my fiance Snake is just frozen like he just seen a ghost. Y'all wouldn't believe what happened next. Chloe gets up and puts a robe on and says it's time to tell her. I'm in tears and my fiance just says, I'm sorry, baby. Then Chloe drops the ball and says that they've been sleeping with each other for the past year and that they're getting married. And then she shows me her engagement ring. My heart shattered to a million pieces, like for part 4. Part 4 on how on Valentine's Day I found out my fiance was cheating on me with my best friend and that I was actually the side fiance. Yes, a side fiance. So like I said, my best friend Chloe said that they've been sleeping together for 1 year and that they're going to get married. My fiance Snake said it kind of just happened and that he didn't want to tell me this way. I cried saying, how could the both of you do this to me? The betrayal of 2 people you love doing this to you was just deep. What's so messed up is that when I told her I was on my way, that's when she decided to sleep with him so I could literally walk into it. I left and cried my eyes out. I My friendship with Chloe was obviously over, and my engagement to Snake was called off. It was so embarrassing to tell my family. The marriage with Chloe and Snake didn't last long. They actually divorced 2 years later, but they did have a kid together. I received a letter from Snake basically apologizing and said how he feels shitty about the whole thing. Chloe, on the other hand, she was very cold. She actually never reached out to me. It took a while to let love back in, but after therapy and finding the love of my life, I healed and I'm doing great. Happy Valentine's Day!